For decades, Ivana and Donald Trump were more than just a married couple. They were an institution, a force to be reckoned with. Together, they embodied the very essence of the American dream. Two ambitious individuals who built an empire from the ground up, turning their names into symbols of wealth, power, and prestige. Their love story was the stuff of fairy tales, at least on the surface. She was the glamorous, fiercely intelligent former model and businesswoman from communist Czechoslovakia, determined to carve out a future in the free world. He was the brash, confident real estate mogul in the making, hungry for success and ready to take New York by storm. When their paths crossed in the 1970s, their chemistry was undeniable. Together, they didn't just build skyscrapers, they built an image, one of luxury, ambition, and larger-than-life personalities. By the 1980s, the Trump name was everywhere. Ivana and Donald were the golden couple of New York high society, gracing magazine covers, attending the most exclusive galas, and hosting extravagant parties in their lavish penthouse at Trump Tower. They weren't just living the dream, they were selling it to the world. But behind the dazzling facade of their seemingly perfect life, cracks were forming. The same drive that made them a powerhouse duo would also be their undoing. Ivana was not content to be just a trophy wife. She was a formidable businesswoman in her own right, playing an active role in Trump's empire. Yet, in a world dominated by power and control, her growing influence would become a source of tension. Donald, accustomed to being the center of attention, wasn't willing to share the spotlight, even with his own wife. As their empire grew, so did the pressures. Wealth, fame, and power came at a cost. The relentless demands of their high-profile life, combined with Donald's extramarital affairs and his insatiable hunger for more, put their marriage to the ultimate test. What began as a fairy tale love story would soon turn into one of the most scandalous divorces in modern history, complete with tabloid headlines, courtroom battles, and public betrayals that captivated the world. Now, 35 years later, Ivana finally reveals the hidden truths behind their dramatic breakup, clashing ambitions, personal betrayals, and the immense pressure of a life constantly under public scrutiny. How did their love unravel? Was their marriage ever truly built on love, or was it simply another strategic business move? Join us as we uncover the untold story of a partnership that once seemed unbreakable but ultimately collapsed, forever altering the legacy they built together. Ivana Trump's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. Born in the heart of communist Czechoslovakia in 1949, she grew up in a world where ambition was often stifled by political restrictions, and success required not just talent but also strategy, resilience, and an unshakable will to defy the odds. From a young age, Ivana exhibited an innate drive to excel. She wasn't just a dreamer, she was a doer, someone who refused to let circumstances dictate her future. Her early years were shaped by the rigorous discipline of competitive skiing, a sport that demanded endurance, precision, and a relentless work ethic. Under the watchful eyes of her coaches, she trained tirelessly, mastering the slopes with an intensity that set her apart. Skiing was more than just a sport to her. It was an escape, a means to push boundaries, and ultimately, a stepping stone to something greater. By the time she reached her late teens, she was already a promising athlete, competing at national levels and earning recognition for her skills. But Ivana's ambitions extended far beyond the icy slopes of her homeland. Unlike many of her peers, she didn't just want to succeed within the constraints of her reality, she wanted to break free from them entirely. She longed for a life filled with possibility, adventure, and most importantly, freedom. Yet, leaving communist Czechoslovakia was no easy feat. The Iron Curtain was tightly drawn, making it nearly impossible for citizens to emigrate without severe consequences, including the risk of never seeing their families again. Resourceful and strategic, Ivana found a way. In a move that was as calculated as it was daring, she entered into a marriage of convenience with Austrian skier Alfred Winkelmeer. This union was not about love, it was about liberation. By marrying Winkelmeer, she secured an Austrian passport, which granted her the legal right to travel and emigrate without severing ties with her family back home. It was a bold decision, one that showcased her sharp intellect and determination to control her own destiny. Armed with her newfound freedom, Ivana made her way to Canada in the early 1970s, settling in the vibrant city of Montreal. Though far from the skyscrapers of New York, Montreal's European influence and bilingual culture made it an ideal starting point for her new life. She quickly adapted, refining her English, networking with influential people, and immersing herself in an environment brimming with opportunity. During this time, Ivana pursued a career in modeling, not just for the glamour, but as a strategic move to build connections in the fashion and business worlds. She wasn't content with simply being a beautiful face. She understood the power of image, branding, and social positioning. Through her work, she met designers, executives, and entrepreneurs who would later play key roles in shaping her journey. By 1976, she had risen to prominence in the modeling industry, securing opportunities that took her beyond Canada. One of her major assignments was participating in promotional campaigns for the Montreal Olympics, an event that put her in the spotlight and allowed her to rub shoulders with some of the world's most influential figures. It was during this period that she began to see North America not just as a place of refuge but as a land of endless potential. Little did she know that a simple trip to New York City that same year, originally planned for work, would change the course of her life forever. What started as a glamorous job in the fashion world would soon lead her into the orbit of a man whose ambition matched her own, Donald Trump. From the ski slopes of Czechoslovakia to the bustling streets of New York, Ivana had transformed herself into a force to be reckoned with. And she was only just getting started. By 1976, Ivana had successfully built a life in North America, splitting her time between her burgeoning modeling career and her personal ambitions. She was independent, driven, and accustomed to standing on her own 2 feet. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment that would change her destiny forever. That year, a work assignment brought her to New York City, a place that, even in the mid-1970s, pulsed with ambition, power, and larger-than-life personalities. The skyline glittered with promise, and beneath it, the social elite gathered in exclusive venues, forging connections that could shape the future. It was a world where only the boldest thrived, and Ivana, unknowingly, was about to step into its epicenter. One evening, after a long day of photo shoots, she joined fellow models for dinner at an upscale Manhattan restaurant. The atmosphere buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses, the scent of expensive perfume mingling with the aroma of fine cuisine. As they waited for a table, Ivana caught the attention of a man whose presence was impossible to ignore. Tall, impeccably dressed, and exuding an air of confidence that bordered on audacity, he made his way toward her with deliberate strides. His piercing blue eyes locked onto hers, and with a smirk that hinted at both charm and self-assurance, he introduced himself in a manner that was as bold as it was unforgettable. "I'm Donald Trump, and I see you're looking for a table. I can help you." It wasn't just the words, it was the delivery. The certainty. The unshakable belief that he could, indeed, solve any problem, even one as simple as securing a dinner table in a crowded restaurant. Ivana later reflected on this moment in her memoir, Raising Trump. She recalled how, rather than attempting to win her over with flirtation, he took a different approach. We exchanged a few pleasantries, nothing more. Just 3 months after their Aspen getaway, Ivana and Donald Trump married on April 9, 1977, at the Marble Collegiate Church in New York. Their wedding was more than just a celebration of love. It was a carefully orchestrated event that symbolized power, ambition, and the birth of a formidable partnership. The ceremony was officiated by Norman Vincent Peale, the renowned author of The Power of Positive Thinking, a book that Donald practically treated as his personal Bible. Ivana, born Ivana Zelnikova, transitioned seamlessly from a rising model to a central figure in what would soon become one of the most recognizable brands in America. Together, they embodied the ideal of a power couple. But as their empire expanded, so did the cracks in their marriage. From the very beginning, Donald Trump recognized that Ivana was not just a beautiful woman with a poised demeanor. She was intelligent, fiercely ambitious, and possessed an impeccable eye for detail. Unlike many men of his stature, who preferred their wives to remain in the background, Donald saw an opportunity to integrate Ivana into his growing real estate empire. Far from being a mere figurehead, Ivana took on an active role in shaping the Trump brand. Her background in architecture and design, paired with her natural business acumen, made her an invaluable asset. It wasn't long before she was given her first major responsibility, the transformation of the aging Commodore Hotel into the opulent Grand Hyatt New York. As Vice President of Interior Design, Ivana oversaw the hotel's dramatic reinvention, ensuring that every detail, from the gold-accented chandeliers to the extravagant marble finishes, reflected the luxury and excess that would later define the Trump brand. But this was only the beginning. As Donald's empire grew, so did Ivana's responsibilities. Her next major project was one of Trump's most ambitious ventures yet, the Trump Tower, an architectural marvel that would become a symbol of power and prestige. While Donald orchestrated the business deals, Ivana worked tirelessly behind the scenes, curating the tower's lavish aesthetic. The signature black glass exterior, the 24-karat gold fixtures, the grand marble-clad atrium, these were all part of Ivana's vision, creating an atmosphere of unbridled opulence that would attract the world's elite. Her dedication and work ethic did not go unnoticed. Donald, impressed by her ability to seamlessly blend style and strategy, entrusted her with even more responsibilities. Soon, she was managing the day-to-day operations of one of his most high-stakes projects, the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City, a venture that involved hundreds of millions of dollars and the constant scrutiny of the media. Then, in a move that cemented her status as more than just Donald Trump's wife, Ivana was named president of the Plaza Hotel, one of the most prestigious properties in New York. This was an unprecedented role for a woman at the time, and Ivana took it on with her characteristic determination. Not content with simply being a symbolic executive, she took an active role in running the hotel, overseeing renovations and ensuring that the plaza maintained its reputation as the pinnacle of luxury. "I don't just want the plaza to be the best hotel in New York," Ivana reportedly told staff. "I want it to be the best hotel in the world." And under her leadership, it thrived. Yet, as Ivana's influence within the Trump organization expanded, so did tensions in their marriage. What had once been a dynamic partnership, where they complemented each other's strengths, began shifting into a quiet but growing power struggle. Donald had always envisioned himself as the mastermind behind every major decision in his empire, but with Ivana increasingly in the spotlight, cracks began to form. Her success, rather than being seen as a shared victory, became a source of competition. She was no longer just the woman standing by his side, she was an executive in her own right, making headlines for her achievements independent of him. Magazine covers featured her as a savvy businesswoman, and the press began referring to her as the First Lady of Trump Organization. For a man as prideful and image-conscious as Donald Trump, this shift in dynamic did not go unnoticed. Though he admired Ivana's work, he was also accustomed to being the sole face of the brand. Their partnership, once built on mutual ambition, was now quietly turning into a battle for dominance. Behind the grand facades of Trump Tower and the Plaza Hotel, a different kind of struggle was brewing, one that would ultimately push their relationship to its breaking point. While Ivana's contributions to the Trump empire were undeniable, her growing prominence created friction between her and Donald. Their marriage, once built on mutual ambition, started to suffer under the weight of competition and clashing egos. At the same time, rumors of Donald's extramarital affairs began circulating among New York's elite. Though the whispers had always existed, they became impossible to ignore as the media began speculating about his relationships with other women. In a now infamous 1990 Playboy interview, Donald made a telling statement. "I don't have to answer that. I never talk about my wife. That's one of the perks of not being a politician. My marriage is and should remain a private matter. I think every man enjoys a little flirting, and if he says otherwise, he's either lying or a politician looking for extra votes." His words, though delivered with his trademark bravado, hinted at the growing cracks in their relationship. The final blow to their marriage came during a Christmas vacation in Aspen in 1989. What was meant to be a relaxing family holiday turned into a public scandal when Ivana came face-to-face with Donald's mistress, model Marla Maples. The confrontation unfolded like a scene from a movie. As Ivana stepped outside a restaurant, Marla boldly approached her and said, I'm Marla, and I love your husband. Do you? Ivana, stunned and humiliated, later recalled in her memoir. I told her to get lost. I love my husband. The encounter, witnessed by stunned onlookers, shattered the illusion of the perfect Trump marriage. From that moment on, there was no turning back. This is just the beginning of the unraveling of one of the most high-profile marriages in modern history. The battle that followed was messy, public, and filled with shocking revelations. But how did Ivana reclaim her power after the scandal? And what legacy did she leave behind? Stay tuned as we continue to uncover the full story.